This thing on, Nicholas?
No, I can't hear you at all, actually.
So I thought about doing it. It wouldn't play well for an audio podcast. But I thought about, remember that one time I did a Harry Potter every flavored jelly bean on the show and damn near threw up all over the place.
Yeah.
So I thought about popping a warhead. You remember what warheads are?
Oh, yeah.
Into my mouth and then trying to do the intro.
Oh, jeez.
With that sour sucker in my mouth.
Why would you do that
But
to yourself?
because I really like and enjoy sour things, Nicholas.
Okay.
And I've been told uh from my therapist that sour things can help with anxiety. But I'm
Oh.
never anxious when I'm on this show with you, Nicholas.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear. It's
I'm
like a
not.
warm
I'm pissed.
blanket.
I'm angry mostly, but
Yes, especially when I'm
never.
drinking kombucha. We all fucking know.
Oh, yeah.
It's the
Fuck
weirdest
off
fucking.
with
You are
kombucha.
that is weird by you that you have an issue with
No,
what I drink.
weird. Yeah, because I don't want you to become some stupid hippie.
Thanks, Grandpa.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios probably presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He's the comic book writer, Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe, and together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. How's it going, Nicholas?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you saying my name right this time. But on the interview that we just finished up doing, you said it incorrectly with a new guest. And I'm like, he did that. I'm like, that one wasn't on purpose by Joe. There's
No,
fucking,
it wasn't.
that one, I fucking knew it. I'm so much muscle memory for you now.
And I'll tell you why, because I changed it on the fly. It's
You
another
did.
reason for everyone to make sure they go and follow TLDR wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, whatever the other ones
you're
are.
going so good.
Right, because I've added the wrestling style intro to our guests, but this time I tweaked it on the spot because I thought, hey, narcissist, this is not about you, it's about the guest. You should introduce them first before you introduce yourself. And so I changed it on the fly. It went fairly smoothly. Little hiccup, but in my brain, because I'm trying to process that on the fly, there was zero chance, absolutely zero chance that I was going to say your name in any way, shape, or form correctly.
The fact that you like, just in general, ad-libbing an intro like that to me is impressive, and I'm very like I'm comfortable with ad-libbing, but something like that where you're just like, I don't have any reference. I know sometimes, very rarely, you may practice it here and there, but you don't generally. To me, that's just crazy. And then knowing how in your own head you are, I'm just like, how the fuck does he not fuck this up more than you do? Like, this is where when you shit on yourself about it, I'm like, Joe, shut the fuck up. Like, it's not easy what you're doing. I don't care what anybody says. Like, I don't care if we have a listener that reaches out. It's like, Joe needs to stop fucking up the intro. I'd be like, dude, you try and do that shit on one try the first time off the fucking dome. Shut up.
Well, I'll tell you, for those who listened to our chat with Amit and Elliot, that was the first time I fucked up a guest's intro. And the chat before that with Tim Daniel and DB, that was one I did practice because I had a very specific thing I did for DB Andrew where he got a Ric Flairian type intro. But other than that, yeah, it's usually right off the dome. These are all off the dome, Nicholas, because I feel like that's authentic. You know, I want to create that connection with our listeners, possibly those watching. They can see, you know, I'm looking up into my skull because I'm trying to find the words on the fly. But you know, just trying to be one of the people, Nicholas.
You know,
walk amongst them like a mortal man.
I don't think anybody will mistake you for bougie. I'll give you that. But
I am wearing Ugg slippers right now.
Oh, what the fuck you own, Uggs? God, I had no idea.
Ugg slippies, Nicholas.
I've stayed at this man's house before. I didn't know you fucking owned Uggs. God.
Oh, Ugg slippies, Nicholas. They're like walking on pillows.
You Tom Brady sellout motherfucker.
Oh, they're the absolute best. Nicholas, I don't care. right? They are so wonderful. Oh, this is my third pair.
You
I've
have
worn through
Uggs,
them.
and you give me shit for drinking kombucha, which is good for
Yeah,
my
one of
mouth.
those things is not like, oh, you're trying to tell me this isn't good for my lumbago? Come on, get out of here.
Oh God, that is unbelievable. So Joe did mention that we had Amit Tischler and Elliot Spurl back on the show recently. You guys hopefully have heard that already. If you haven't, pause this, go back and listen to it. We had a great time talking with them about the conclusion of The Last Wardens and what's next for them in general and with The Last Wardens. We're hoping for more from that over at Mad Cave, but we're getting more from an audio standpoint and an RPG standpoint. So very excited for all that. And then the chat that we just got finished, which you guys will get later in the week because we already have it in the can, so we can share it because we're not fucking Lemiring it. I mean, jinxing it. Matthew Rosenberg joined the show. Very excited for you guys to hear more about that. We talked about we're taking everyone down with us. Had a great time talking with him, shitting on the Kill Your Darlings guys. All fun stuff, all things that needed to be done in that episode. I would say we're done. We could have probably done 2 hours with him, quite honestly, Joe. If we didn't, if Matt.
Well, if we started talking Marcus Smart, definitely would have gone 2 hours.
He's actually, I think he's a baseball guy. We didn't talk sports with him at all. I'm all like, Kyle's, you fucking baiting Kyle over on Instagram with shit. He's gonna come back on the show. I'm gonna ask him a question. He's no, guys, we need to talk about basketball first. It's what's gonna happen. You're setting us up for another episode of that. God. Anyways, so we had a great time talking with Matt. We actually did an early look for We're Taking Everyone Down with Us last What's New, so ahead of the Amit and Elliot conversation. So if you guys want to learn more about that book from just us without Matt over our shoulder, you can catch that there in that conversation and that What's New. But we're going to have a lot more fleshed out with Matt in this Friar Side chat that's going to be coming up. So as Joe mentioned, make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels because that's the only place you're going to get the Friar Side chats. Those are our conversations with creators across the industry, and that you can find those on our audio channels. We're talking Apple, Spotify, as Joe mentioned, Geeks Worldwide Radio, Amazon, Pocket Cast, all the major podcast platforms. You can find us there. If you are scrolling through Blue Sky or over on Instagram and you're finding us and you're like, well, wait a minute, like where are these things? That's where you go find them. Make sure you subscribe there because if nothing else, you're going to get those episodes. You'll get all the other stuff as well, but you can get those over on YouTube. You can get those over on Instagram Live. But the only place you're going to get our Friar Side chats is on our audio channels. So make sure you subscribe there. We do have an early look that we're going to get to in a sec. But first, Joe, let's get to some. I actually muted myself there. Sorry. we're rolling today.
Amateur hours.
Fucking unbelievable. Catching up. What do you got for me?
Well, for like I don't even know how many weeks in a row now, Nicholas, you have not had anything in catching up. You are not going to be hitting 1,000 books.
Whoa, wait a second. I'm doing a fuck ton of catching up. You set a new rule. See, this is God, Joe is the perennial like goalpost mover. That's I got to figure out a way to make it out a better nickname. Fisherman is one, but I need to find something for here too, because he'll be like, oh, like we need to, like let's just do things that are absolutely pressing and like massive from a catching up standpoint. Like, so I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm always like, I don't know if that's massive. Like, I don't know this. Like, you're like, that's why I'm not doing it.
Like, well, Nicholas, you forget. You forget that my brain is Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I forget that you forget.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Fucking unbelievable. I've read more of What's the Furthest Place from Here from you than you have.
Yeah, probably.
No, I'm looking at what you have in the notes. I'm telling you. So it's like, oh, what have you catch? I guess in fairness, I should be highlighting that one as well.
So I think I've put more of an emphasis on it because I really am trying to get to 1,000 books read this year. And so far through 18 days of February into the year 2025, I have already read 173 comic books.
Nice.
A big part of that is I've been reading a lot of Red Sonja by Mark Russell and Bob Quinn. I've gotten through 3 volumes of that. There's 1 volume to go. Speaking of, Matthew Rosenberg, to help kind of prepare for that chat, I flew through the first 2 volumes of What's the Furthest Place from Here. Which I should maybe even double those numbers because most of those issues are like double or triple issue lengths.
The first one is double.
First one's triple.
Triple. Okay, there you go. Oh, the triple issue. Sorry, I meant the
yeah.
Yeah.
X-Men. And then this next book I had to read because of what's coming out this week. So I finally read issue 12 of World Tree, Nicholas. And I'll tell you what, like what we've gotten so far, like you're 100% right. Like I don't need to have reread the previous arc for this, because what we get here is we're getting an origin story of one of the main essential characters. And I absolutely love that. There's nothing I love more than a good origin story, and seeing that um for the first time really blew my mind, which really leads into the issue that we get this week. So we'll expound upon that in a few more moments.
100%. The one thing I want to say about what's the furthest place from here, holy shit, is that thing so fucking easy to binge read. My God. Like, like, buy like go you know, if you go to your local comic shop on Wednesday, you know, get that trade if you haven't already, and check it out. But like be fully prepared to go back like like in a few days, or like at the end of the weekend, like to get the second volume, because as much as that first volume is like over 200 pages and longer than the second volume, it just reads so goddamn fast. It's so good, and it's like it's got so many little chapters within it that it just really like when we talk about propulsion, we don't ever talk about it in this way, but for this, like as a graphic novel, as a trade, it's just like, oh, okay, I just finished a small chapter. I'm gonna read another one. Like I'm gonna read another one. It's just it's so easy to just keep fucking rolling with that thing, and it's so like shame on us, like shame on you and I for taking this long to get on board with that series, because it's so fucking good. Are you good? Because you were muted there.
I know. Well, what I was going to say was like this is another example of a series that just reads really well in trade form,
It really
right?
does.
And it does read really fast in that in that way. So excellent series.
Yeah. Now let's get to our one early look that we have for this week. This is from Mad Cave Studios. Buried long, long ago, issue 1. The FOC for this is March 24th. It is hitting shelves on April 16th. Make sure, you know what? So you guys have we're taking everyone down with us. The FOC for that is March 3rd. When you call them, or as Matt implores, drive to your local comic shop, buy them donuts, do all nice things for them, give them a massage while you're at it. Like do all these things for them. We make sure that you let them know you also want to add Buried Long, Long Ago, issue 1 from Mad Cave Studios. This is written by Anthony Cleveland with art by Alex Cormack. The synopsis on this is a fairy tale retelling of the brutal crimes of Belle Gunness from the perspective of her 3 young children. And this is also framed as Pan's Labyrinth meets From Hell. And holy fucking shit, Joe. You read it before I did. I was excited to check it out. What did you think?
This book was absolutely wild. This might be one of we've had Alex on before, right? And we've talked about Sync and a lot of his other books that he's done with Rich Douek. And we know Alex art style to be extraordinarily vicious. And I thought, Sync Just Desserts was brutal. Holy cow. Buried long ago might be one of the most vicious things I've ever read. And it's one of those things that just has this great, slow, horrific buildup. So that when you get to the end of this first issue, you're just left with your jaw on the floor going, oh man, holy shit. This sort of gave me, like, from what I remember as a kid reading, like Scary Stories to Read in the Dark, whatever that
Oh yeah.
series was, right? And there was some really effed up stories in that, and like some of those were really traumatizing to me as a kid. This book was borderline traumatizing as I'm reading it, and I absolutely loved it. It's so good. The storytelling is absolutely fantastic. Everything that's set up, the way the first issue ends, like we talk about, like you want that first issue to get its hooks into you, and it figuratively, it literally gets its hooks into you.
It is insane. It's such a full first issue. Like there's so much happens, and it's just like, wait a minute, you're doing all of this in the first goddamn issue, and it's just like I'm like, ah, we can't. Where is this gonna go, man? Like, because you and I have no clue. Like Bel Gunnis, like that name means nothing to us. I quite honestly, I don't want to look into that person's like real story until I'm finished reading this series. We can look into it later, whatever. I don't need to know. But it's just this shit was so good. Like the way you started off with this different feel, and you could tell it's like a little bit of a setup and how it's going to carry weight later. And to me, the thing that like with Alex, he's the best horror artist in comics right now. We've talked about that many a time. The floppy winner for best artist of the year in 2023, unanimous. And it was like he does such an outstanding job. And I Sync is like his work on Sync is my favorite shit that he does still to this day. But what he does here that's a little bit different that I really appreciate is I feel like I've talked about like with Christian in I'm blanking on the name of his book with DB Andrew and Tim Daniel over at Vault. Shame on me. But like I talk
Denizen.
about Denizen, thank you. The stillness that I talk about a lot from Christian's art in that series. I feel like Alex actually has a little bit of that mixed in here. There's a lot more quiet too. Like there's some big shit that goes on. Don't get me wrong. You get the crazy violence that you're talking about, but to me, it's like it's a taste of what Alex can do in that regard, and we get something else in that, and it gives me a different horror feel that I don't think I've gotten from Alex's work at this point in my reading of his work. So yeah, like it's so fucking good. Again, like Mad Cave, they've been kicking ass. This is another awesome series. Again, coming out in April. FOC is March 24th.
Yeah, one last quick thing too, like the character design of the mother, her eyes and her face will haunt my dreams tonight. Absolutely terrifying.
We'll have to report back to me tomorrow. I'm very curious. When we post the video of it, you're gonna have to follow up with like a quote and be
It's
like,
like Stewie Griffin, like,
yeah,
eyes the size of
yeah,
dinner plates.
exactly, exactly. All right, let's get to what's actually coming out this week and hitting local comic shops this week. Start us off with Marvel, like you do, please.
So for new comic book day, February 19th, 2025, from Marvel, we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue 68, Uncanny X-Men issue 10, Ultimate Black Panther issue 13, Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 30, Daredevil issue 18, Aliens vs. Avengers issue 3, The Incredible Hulk issue 22, Exceptional X-Men issue 6, Storm issue 5, X Factor issue 7, Nyx issue 8, not to be confused with Stevie Nicks, X Force issue 8, Laura Kinney Wolverine issue 3, Mystique issue 5, Daredevil Unleash Hell issue 2, Werewolf by Night issue 7, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 3, Ahsoka issue 8, Alien Paradiso issue 3. That issue was absolutely excellent. Pay attention to Doc Stack, as you might hear a little bit more about that later on in the week. The Infinity Watch issue 2, Weapon X-Men issue 1, Doom Academy 1, Thunderbolts Doomstrike issue 1. That's 2 books. That's 2 books. I was about to yell at them for having a title that was too long. I missed a separator there. That's my bad. We have Doom Academy issue 1, Thunderbolts Doomstrike issue 1. That is an appropriately titled book. Star Wars The High Republic Fear of the Jedi issue 1. And then we got a book that we both want to discuss.
yes, we do. So much stuff from Marvel this week for both of us. I do want to check out Weapon X-Men. I almost checked out Thunderbolts Doomstrike issue 1, but it didn't end up making my short list. There was other stuff that I had to prioritize ahead of it. But as soon as we got the Marvel review copies, and then you see Ultimate Wolverine 2 in there, say, oh yeah, I mean you got to pick that shit up first. Chris Condon, Alessandro Capuccio, and where the first issue establishes Wolverine as the Ultimate Universe's Winter Soldier, and it's more about character and just getting a feel for what's going on with him. Issue 2 establishes the setting that he's in, and we really get to know some of the other characters that we learned a bit about, or we kind of at least got introduced to in the first issue. They get more fleshed out, and I'm curious if you can help me on this, Joe. To me, there's like there's a familiar vibe to this series and from a spy standpoint, but I'm like there's like an era of movie. Maybe it's not spy, maybe it's more action, but there's something about it that feels so familiar to me in a good way because like this is clearly its own thing and set in the Ultimate Universe. Like, but I just there's something about it's like scratching an itch. I fucking love that element of this story.
Well, it does have sort of like that mid '90s,
Okay, it's 90s.
mid '90s action thriller, movies, that you get. I love this idea of Wolverine as Winter Soldier, right? Because that plays into sort of who Wolverine is, right? And how he was and what he was created to be initially. So
Yeah.
like the combination of making him that character, I think just plays and works, so well. Him sort of being a tool, of this agency, and his look is so great. And there's an image, I believe it's a splash page, that is just it rips so hard. It is so badass. And it's just sort of Wolverine just sort of coming down from the trees, claws out. It's so awesome. So like, I love what the Ultimate Universe is doing. And this whoever, I'm pretty sure they were just sitting there. Someone's just going, what if Wolverine was Winter Soldier? And someone, yes, write it now, right? No hesitation, right? That's just how good it works.
Yeah, we've never had Chris Condon on the show, but we obviously would like to at some point because that Texas blood also. I that's a really good question. I would love to know who came up with this concept. Like, because even if it was him, then awesome. Like how like I'd love to know how you connected those dots. And if it wasn't him and it kind of got pitched to him, it's then great. Like I want to know like how you wrapped your head around it first because you've just done enough. It's been so fucking good. And yeah, Alessandro Capuccio, like that's when we talk about like because I wasn't sure if it was 90s or if it was aughts when it came to like what movie like era that's from. I thought it was 90s, but I just couldn't commit to it. But it was like his style and the colors as well in the issues is just so fucking good and it really plays into that so damn well. I mean, if you're not reading, the Absolute Wolverine issue, like the series, like I'm sorry, Ultimate Wolverine, absolute crossing streams. If you're not reading Ultimate Wolverine, I don't understand. Like you must just not like comics. And I guess then why are you listening to the show? I guess is my question. But anyways,
Because we're awesome, Nicholas.
this is true. If you don't read comics and you listen to this show, I guess that does speak to us. That would be really surprising. Anyways, moving on, let's go over to DC. I don't think we have anything from the Absolute Universe from them this week, but we do have Nightwing issue 123, Batman, Superman, World's Finest issue 36, Wonder Woman issue 18, Titans issue 20, Batman and Robin year 1 issue 5, The New Gods issue 3, Catwoman issue 73, The Question All Along the Watchtower issue 4, Challengers of the Unknown issue 3, Jenny Sparks issue 7, DC Horror Presents Creature Commandos issue 5, which I really enjoyed that show. I haven't checked out this series at all. Maybe I should. But anyways, Batman Wayne Family Adventures issue 152, Milestone Universe The Shadow Cabinet issue 4, and then Zatanna issue 1. I'll tell you what, Joe, I'm not gonna like go crazy in depth into Zatanna, but it's like, okay, reading the issue, okay, it's solid, having a good time, okay, see what's going on here. The ending of this issue is fucking everything. Like it's the whole issue is like, okay, good, we're like seeing where Zatanna's at, what's going on, blah, blah, and then you get to the end and it's like, wait a second, what the fuck just happened? So like now it's like I could not be more excited going into issue 2.
Love that. I'm glad you read it too. Fantastic. So, from Boom Studios, Light Week from Boom, we have Power Rangers Prime issue 4, the third issue of In Bloom, which was absolutely crackers. But we have a final issue of a book, Nicholas, that you have come to love very much, and I've grown to appreciate more due to being able to binge it.
House of Slaughter issue 30. Did not realize this was the final issue until we got the email from Boom. We got the review copies and it was like final issue. I was like, wait a second, like final issue or like end of arc or like nope, final issue is what it said, and it's okay. That means that we're done here. So maybe we should have seen it coming. I feel like this is something we probably should have just from browsing around, but I sure as hell didn't fucking see it coming. This is written by Sam Johns with art by Licia Candassini. To me, like, so as much as it brings the story and the arc to an end, we're getting like it feels like there's still. I mean, the Slaughterverse isn't going anywhere. Obviously, something is killing the children. So much is going on with like the Europe portion of this world as well. Now, when you bring in the House of the Book of Cutter, like there's so much that's being fleshed out. I think now it's just it feels like okay, we did what we wanted to do here, expanded the universe. Now we're expanding it even more, and there are certain players who are gonna carry forward from here and certain obstacles that will come out of this as well. So while House of Slaughter is done, I do feel like it played a huge part, massive part in expanding the Slaughterverse, and I think there's a lot of characters who we're still going to see more from in varying capacities.
Yeah, I think what House of Slaughter did, in particular, was it really gave us a greater view of the Order of Saint George, right? We got more of the different houses, right, and we got the sense that it was a much larger world than what we were getting in Something Is Killing the Children. You combine that with the Book of Cutter, right? That's the one that just came out, the one shot. Was it the Book of Cutter?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so good.
right. So between the Book of Cutter and this last arc of the House of Slaughter, we now have this more global view of what the story is all about, right? We got some international flavor, but now it's really like, oh, okay, this is more than just different factions of a monster hunting society, right? We're now taking this thing, we're infiltrating levels of government. We're really, we're becoming the puppet masters pulling the strings. And I think that's what House of Slaughter, really achieved for the Slaughterverse. And so I can't wait for when Something Is Killing the Children returns, and seeing the direction that goes in. But I'm also hoping for more of these one shots on the individual houses and how that plays into the greater story, the greater world of the Slaughterverse.
And I love the one shots that we've gotten. But I actually just want more of the Europe stuff. I want more Cutter. If you want to give us some, if you want to turn back the clock, even that would be really interesting. I'm sure too. I want to see like we've gotten a good taste of that part of the world, and I'm sure there's some other stuff we're going to see in Something Is Killing the Children because obviously there's a lot to deal with when it comes to Erica. But I would if we're able to, if it makes sense right now and isn't going to take away from Something Is Killing the Children, like that title in and of itself, I would love to see some more of like what's going on in that part of the Slaughterverse. I find it fascinating. This whole series has been the whole universe obviously is fascinating. It's one of the most popular things going in comics right now, and to also hammer home, I think we saw that Something Is Killing the Children is returning in April. We don't have the date in front of us right now, but that is the timeline that Boom had mentioned most recently. So very excited to get that back. So we got like a pause in the action. Like so March, no Slaughterverse stuff, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And then we get back to it in April. Moving over to Dark Horse, we got From the World of Minor Threats, The Brood, issue 3, Behemoth, issue 2, Borderlands, Moxie's Mysterious Memento, issue 3, Barstow, issue 3, Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons: The Rise of Hellfire, issue 1. I will say quickly, I did read this. I really because I love Eddie Munson. I enjoy Stranger Things, but he is my favorite character that we've gotten in that whole world so far. It was definitely more like a reintroduction to kind of what happened, also kind of telling you where the story is going to go as well. So a mix of the two, like some of what we saw in the show, some new stuff. So like a nice little table setter. Definitely going to be checking out issue 2 because of the stuff that we got set in the past. I really like that. Really got to see like a different side of Eddie and kind of get to know him in that realm. So some good stuff there. And then there's a book that you wanted to talk about from Dark Horse this week.
Yeah, I called dibs on this as soon as I saw who the creators were. And that is Let This One Be a Devil, issue 1. It's written by James Tynan and Steve Fox with art by Peter Kowalski, or Peter Kowalski, however you pronounce it. So right away, right, like Tynan, bang. But Steve Fox is excellent as well, and he's become another author. Another writer. I see their name. I'm going to read it, and so this is just, man, it's been a week for spooky books. It's been a week for books that are going to keep me up at night. And this is definitely got an old school, turn of the 19th, into the 20th century, vibe to it. And we're dealing with demons, devils, in a small town, right? And we get a really great little cast of characters that we follow. And the way that this issue ends with sort of with a bit of an origin, right? So it's like we're starting the story at a very specific time and place, and then we get thrown back even farther. And the way this first issue ends, you just go, oh, good God. Holy smokes. Right. It is just, man, this series is gonna absolutely rip. And there's, Kowalski, he's, I know him from he's done some work on The Witcher. He's done work with Kyle Starks on Where Monsters Lie, right? So he's got a very, very adept hand at drawing horror and shit that terrifies me. And him working with Tynan and Fox, I think, is a great combo. So this is an absolute must-read book. Nicholas, you're going to love it when the time comes. But until this first arc is over, you unfortunately have to sit this one out.
Yeah, I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you're doing it because it's been a bit since I feel like you've had dibs on a Tynan book. So yeah, I'm very much happy for you. Like when you second you saw this, you were like dibs there. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I don't
like
blame
giving
you
you a
because
chance to snake it.
yeah, because I have snaked a couple of your guys recently. But anyways, moving on. Catch your breath because I know you got a book from Mad Cave to talk about. I'll take us through those real quick. We got Spectrum issue 3, Prairie Gods issue 5. Revolution 9, issue 4, Synap, issue 3, Flash Gordon, issue 6. Don't fucking sing that song. And then you got a book that you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, real quick. I don't know if Revolution 9
I
is
think you're
out
right.
this week.
Yes, I think
Right.
that was
So
in League of
that's one I
Comics.
forgot to remove because it was supposed to
You're
come
good.
out and we didn't. Anyways,
Thank you for flagging it.
so nah, no problem. That's what I do, Nicholas. I'm the editor here. Um, so they call me the editor.
Talk about your work. I'll mute myself.
Yeah. So Hour of the Wolf, issue 4. I'm actually gonna need you a second here because I forget the name of the universe that this is a part of, but I've
Go ahead. Sorry, I can't help. I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll mute myself again.
Oh man, so Hour of the Wolf. This is part of a shared universe, over at Mad Cave Studios, and so I've absolutely, it's another horror book where one of the main characters absolutely terrifies the shit out of me. Constantly, carrying around one of those old school razor blades that you might shave one's face with, and just the overall design just terrifies me every time they're on on the page. And this was the last issue of this arc, and we know that it's in a shared universe. Thank you. Written by Mark London. And what I loved about this mostly is that we get a great conclusion to this arc. I love the cat and mouse game that happens between our main antagonist and protagonist, but what we get at the end was just a nice little piece of the puzzle that sort of connects this book to the universe. Because what's great about this is that you can read these books like individually and they stand beautifully on their own, like in the back of your mind that they're part of a shared universe, but like it doesn't like take away, like you don't have to read this one to read that one sort of thing, but just that little bit we get there at the end where it ties it together, I thought was just a chef's kiss. So we mentioned Revolution 9. We get a little bit of that tie in there, which I just thought was absolutely excellent.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, they're doing again. We say it all the time. We sound like broken records, but they're doing a lot of good stuff over at Mad Cave Studios right now. All right, I'll take us through these couple here before we round things out with Image. So we got from IDW, we got Star Trek issue 29, Godzilla Heist issue 1, My Little Pony Sky's Secret issue 1. From Titan, we got Conan the Barbarian issue 18, RuneScape Untold Tales of the God Wars issue 3, The Loose End issue 1. From Oni, we got Epitaphs from the Abyss issue 8 and Rick and Morty Ricklemania issue 1. From Dynamite, we got Space Ghost issue 10, The Terminator issue 5, The Herculoids issue 1, and Darkwing Duck issue 1. And then, Joe, that brings us to Image and Skybound. What do we got?
Okay, so to take us home, Nicholas, from Image Skybound, we have G.I. Joe issue 4, King Spawn issue 42, The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 107, The Holy Roller issue 9, Rat City issue 11, Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn issue 3, Violator Origin issue 6, Doll Parts, A Love Sick Tale issue 3, Null Hunter issue 5, Dead Eyes, The Empty Frames issue 4, Free Agents issue 7, Drawing Blood issue 8, and The Patchwork Girl of Oz issue 2, with 2 books that we want to discuss. Nicholas, you lead us off because the last book we have to talk about might just be the most crackers book of the week. In a week that had a lot of books that were absolutely nuts.
Yeah, definitely. But we are going to kick things off here with the Power Fantasy issue 6. This is the start of the second arc, but at the same time, it still feels like the first arc of Kieran Gillen and Casper Wingard's story was more of, okay, we're getting to know the characters. There is like a connected story, but it's more about establishing this world and the characters and what's going on here. Now it feels like, okay, this issue, we got something going on, and then this is what's going to happen. But the biggest thing for me is this issue really confirms it for me. Etienne Lux is my new favorite character in comics. I am not the biggest fan of telepaths, generally speaking. Like they've never fully done it for me. I'm not saying they can't be interesting, but they're not ones that I just feel like ones that I've read in the past don't move the needle for me in in a big way necessarily. He burst on the scene in the first issue, and then Kieran has developed him in such a marvelous way to the point where now in issue 6, it's like it can be you can still sleep on him, and then it's like then you're quickly reminded like, no, you fucking can't. Like, you have to pay attention to this guy at all fucking times. He is so good and so not like so good in a character way, not in a personality way necessarily. And it's just everything about it is subtle and powerful, and I fucking love that. I cannot get enough of Etienne Lux. And then also in this, do want to highlight like that this is a big issue for Magus, who we didn't hear as much about in the first arc of the big 6 that we're going to be dealing with. So it's interesting to see like what's going to be going on with him moving forward. But yeah, I mean, this was a Floppy Award winner for me, Joe, and it's like starting off in 2025 on the right foot.
Love that. Love that. I got to get caught up on the last couple issues, but like, yeah, what an effing story.
Ugh, so good, so good. But yeah, then we're gonna move over to Joe to tease this in catching up. World Tree issue 13, of course, James Tynion IV, art by Fernando Blanco. If you haven't read any of this and you want to hear more about what the first arc was like, spoiler free, of course, go listen to Joe's breakdown of it from a little while back. I don't actually remember off the top of my head what episode number that was, but it wasn't crazy long ago. But anyways, go check that out. Joe, what did you think of issue 13?
Holy smokes. I read this right after reading issue 12. So, I talked about, back in catching up how this was issue 12 was a great origin story of Sammy, also known as the naked chick, right? Because you're introduced to her right from the beginning, and just an absolute psychopath. And so getting that origin right in issue 12, and then having it continue on to issue 13, and we learn more about Sammy. We also learn more about World Tree, and the Undernet itself, which was fascinating. I am absolutely loving this arc so far, because I feel like, I don't know how you feel, but to me, it's giving this world that extra boost, right? Because we were really kind of like, it was really getting meta, and things were like, you're just like, you're so far in it, like having this step back a little bit, and sort of getting reintroduced to the murderous chaos, that the series started off on, has just been so good. And just visually, the art in these last two issues, but especially this issue, gets really effing trippy and really effing violent. And this is like, I don't know how to what I don't know how else to describe it, Nicholas. That's how, like, it's got me flustered how insane this issue is.
Yeah, I think you hit on the important points. Those were the things that I wanted to touch upon too. Like, it's we're getting, as much as I love the fact that we're getting this origin story, like getting to experience what it's like to get sucked into the undernet is fascinating, because this book was getting very heady. I mean, it was heady in general throughout the first two arcs, but now, as much as we're still talking about the same concept, we're focusing in on one individual, and that's giving us a fuller experience of like, what do these people go through? Like, okay, we've learned all this shit about it, but like, what happens when you experience the internet, when you get sucked in? Like, now we're getting a really, I feel like through from this issue alone, we have a really good understanding, and there's still so much more, because like we get like some tastes here, like we get a lot more than we had, but it still feels like, yeah, this is a taste. Like, we're probably going to get more throughout the course of this arc, and it's been outstanding. But I just want to make sure we're saying it at the end here, but like, this is a little quick PSA for you guys. Don't fucking read this in a public setting. Like on the train to work, like some may tend to do. Like, if anybody sees you reading the first couple pages of this, you will get some weird looks. I promise you that. I was by myself on the train, thank God. But I was like, holy shit! Like, I turned my iPad right away. Like, holy fuck, man! Like, this is,
You'd get reported.
I wouldn't blame anybody for that. Fucking crazy, man. So when you started saying, like, when you read this, I thought you were gonna say you read it at the dance studio. I was like,
Oh yeah, like I did with sex criminals. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it might be worse. It might be worse if you did that.
Oh, you kidding me? 100% worse, right? Holy smokes!
Crazy.
Oh,
But yeah, some awesome stuff from World Tree, awesome stuff from Image. Just another great week in comics. And you said this, I think, offer. I don't think you said it on the show. I can never remember. But like, 2024,
Duval. No, that
we
wasn't it.
we no, we 2024 was an outstanding year in comics from a reader standpoint. There was so much quality. And this is where, like, we see people complain online, and it's like, okay, if you're, trust me, like, if you're complaining, then you're not fucking looking hard enough. And really, you don't need to look that hard. Like, I guess if you hate horror, like, then that probably doesn't help out, because it is a golden age of horror in comics, or the golden age of horror. But like, there's still so much good stuff out there. But you had said it, like 2025, like, so obviously we're only a month and a half in, but it's been a pretty damn good start to the year, and we're getting some early looks at stuff too. So we know, like, stuff coming in March, stuff that's coming in April, like buried long ago. Like, there is more quality comics coming out this year.
Yeah, we're off to the same hot start that 2024 was off to. Um, it's going to be a difficult one, I think, by the end, unless things just turn to shit real fast. It's going to be another difficult year for the floppies. I've already started to earmark stuff. Put pins and things. Don't forget this, don't forget that, because recency bias can't set in. But it's been a hell of a year so far. And I sent you a screenshot. I said earlier I've read 173 comics. The parody this year, it's usually, like always, Image and then flip flop Marvel, DC, and then go from there. Dynamite, and that's mostly because I've been reading a lot of Red Sonja, but like DC and Marvel right now, I think are like 5th and 6th on the list, respectively. So that's just how good. There's been a lot of Dark Horse, a lot of Mad Cave, a lot of great books out there right now.
Mad Cave is like the Hansel of comics right now. They are so hot. But anyways, yeah, so awesome stuff. Again, reminder, so if you're watching us right now on YouTube, if you're watching us on Instagram Live, make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels, because the only place you're going to find a Friar Side chat. And I didn't say this off the top, but if you've been listening to us long enough, you're going to know you want to subscribe there, because we never know when we're going to get a fucking Friar Side chat. So we can't even generally, like, we're letting you know about Rosenberg in advance, but there's a lot of times where we can't let you know in advance because we don't have it in the hopper, and we have a history of jinxing things. So when we've been pretty good since we jinxed ourselves like the 1 or 2 times that we did it. So yeah, so make sure you subscribe there. You're gonna get everything delivered right to your listening device, nice and easy. And then you'll be good. But yeah, so we'll see what we got for next week. But make sure you're subscribed over there. Until then, Joe, stay sexy.
Jinxes are one and done since 21, baby. Oh, keep reading. Woo!